Okay, here's a little start. I felt like it's important maybe to go over a few schematic things. Maybe it'll be helpful for you in what you're doing. This is a old Marshall schematic from several decades ago. But basically the concepts that I want to get by, this little symbol here is an input jack. This scenario is what I'm talking about for what you want to create for the input of that amp. You want to have a 1 meg resistor going to ground, and then you want to have a grid stopper connected between the input jack and the grid of the first tube, whatever that is in an amp. In your amp, it's an EF86 pentode. So you got to look on a tube chart for each tube, a 12AX7, EF86, and see what parts of the tube correspond with each pins. In this Marshall schematic, this symbol here, that's the plate. That's where you get your B plus voltage coming through a resistor to the plate of the tube. It's also where the signal gets sent out of the tube. And in this instance, it's the coupling cap that goes through the low jack and goes over to the next stage. In this instance, it's a tone stack going to the second triode of the first 12AX7. So this is similar to your question on your second and third tubes, V1A, V1B. This is one tube. So this little symbol at the bottom is the heater, right there and right there, right there and right there. That's pin 4 and 5 connected to one half of a heater, pin 9 on a 12AX7. That heats the tube. This other symbol right here is a cathode. These preamp tubes, this 12AX7, this is one tube, remember, is biased with one cathode on one triode, has 2.7K resistor with a 0.68 capacitor to ground. This side has a 10K resistor. That's just the way this particular Marshall amp does it. And then the dotted lines here are the grid. This is where your signal comes in. So plate, grid, cathode, and then your heater or filament. Again, on this side, plate, grid, cathode, heater. And then the two halves of the 12AX7, even though it's one tube in an envelope, the pins going around it, when you look at it in person on the bottom, you'll see these parts are connected to different pins, and that's what you're connecting your components to. Then again, at least in this amp, you're going to have it go to another 12AX7. This is the first half of it. So plate, grid, triode. Here's the second half of it connected to it. So this again, this is one tube. Plate, grid, triode. This is where your voltage is coming into the tube. This is where your signal is coming in from the last stage. Flip it over. And this is the phase inverter. You have one of those in your amplifier as well. So this is a little bit different type of phase inverter. There's different ways of wiring a phase inverter. This is a different type than is in the Filmosound. But then it goes basically out one side and the other to give you a balanced signal going to the power stage. In this Marshall, it's 2 EL34s, and yours it's 2 EL84s. This schematic isn't very clear for going over power supply stuff. I can go over that with you if you like, but it's wall voltage coming into a transformer, which has, a filament supply for 6.3 volts like yours, has a high voltage supply. These are diodes. Yours uses a 6CA4 rectifier instead of diodes. But then you have filter caps. You don't have a choke in that amp, you have a resistor, then another filter cap, and then you have a resistor going back to the preamp, coming over, filter cap, resistor, filter cap, and that feeds the power down to all your tubes from the high voltage secondary of the transformer. But it would be worth looking at different tubes, search them up, EL84, 12AX7, EF86 that you have in your amp, and see how the different parts of the tube, plate, screen, grid, cathode, all correspond to the pins 1 through 9 or 1 through 8 on the tubes. That would be a good learning experience. But hopefully that's helpful as a start. Have fun fishing.